All right, welcome to the stream. Real quick, this was a video that's getting uploaded on my channel in a few hours. It was about liquidity. You guys may have seen my thread, so if you're curious to see that, check it out. And then let's get into it. Obviously, a lot has happened once again as we've been accelerating into this run. Um, I'm just gonna go from top to bottom, and then we'll see how it goes. So starting off with BTC, obviously I'm just gonna zoom out a bit. We're now getting really close to the all-time high. We're basically testing the first top at like 65K before uh, we fell down during the summer in 2021. And I mean it's just like a few percent away from the all-time highs now. So while we're here, like this could theoretically be the last resistance um, until all-time high, like where I could see a slow down a bit. Um, we'll have to see. I mean, if there's like a lot of ETF inflows again today, then I think we're just gonna keep grinding higher and higher, and I don't think we're gonna do anything crazy at the all-time high either. Then it's just gonna keep going. But for now, I mean, this was basically a Monday night move still. So who knows, maybe at the open we see some sellers come in, but at this point, I don't know. Um, I don't think we have to rule anything out, and I also don't feel like, even though things are getting a bit, or like they're getting pretty overheated in a way, but with this ETF bid, if it just keeps going at like 500 million a day, I really don't see us going down that much. I mean, you're probably gonna get like a few of these days, which we also had. I think it was around here. I think on Thursday we had like a smaller inflow, relatively speaking, or like a bigger GBTC outflow in this case. So then you can see, yeah, we go down a few percent, but then the next day the spot ETF bid is back, and it just keeps grinding higher and higher. I don't think we opened up with a CME gap today. No, because we had this little wick here overnight, which basically closed whatever there may have been. So nothing in that regard, which is good. And yeah, I mean, let's just wait and see. In terms of trading, I'm definitely not shorting this thing. I also, even though historically speaking, if you buy like an all-time high or something, it tends to keep going, but I'm really not in the mood to put on long leverage on BTC or anything for that matter here because I don't know, I'm fine with my spot holds. They're doing great and it's plenty of exposure. I don't feel like after such a run to start levering up, which is what a lot of people seem to be doing usually because they feel confident. Prices have been going up and up and up and everything has been working. And sure, it may work for another week or another month or however long, but at some point you're gonna get a flush out, which is inevitable. And if you're like overexposed during that, then you're gonna get hit, especially when people take on a lot of positions or a lot of leverage and also don't put their stop losses in place. That's where people just ruin their entire portfolio because they get liquidated or something. So always use stop losses for these things because people are like, I'm not gonna use them. I'm just gonna get wicked out. But sometimes you just get these. I mean, we had it on alts just during the weekend. Like let's say pretty solid alts. All these things. These wicks went like 15, 20% or so. So that can hurt a lot if you don't have a stop in place and you have a lot of positions open. Then it can potentially ruin your entire account. So moving on, just gonna go here from top to bottom. Bitcoin dominance, it has been kinda holding here since October basically. So we get these short rushes up by ETH BTC, followed by another rejection because ETH or BTC starts running again and ETH can't keep up. And it's basically been doing this for a good part of like the past 5, 6 months or so now. Um, I'm not ruling out like another go higher if Bitcoin breaks all-time highs. Not sure how ETH is gonna react, but I don't think it's gonna keep up if BTC really accelerates once more. In that case, 57% would be the most logical level. Yes, you can't really chart Bitcoin dominance, but on the other hand, it has been working out pretty well. I think a lot of people still watch this. So I think it makes sense that at some point, let's say you reach this 57% level and a lot of people are watching it, people are gonna say like, okay, this is the level which I was looking for. I'm now gonna convert more BTC into alts, for example. So in that way, I do think this is actually chartable. Some people think it doesn't make sense, but I think enough people watch it for it to actually have some value. So if we were to break down, then this 52% level is the main thing, and eventually 48, of course, and that would really get you an alt season. Let's say BTC breaks all-time high now, goes to like, let's say 75k, and we head up here. Then it starts consolidating or just bleeding down a bit, and all start seeing like a lot of inflows from BTC, and you see Bitcoin dominance go like this, similar to how we had in 2021 here. I think after this has done like good 2-3 weeks of this, where altcoins just run like crazy, I think that's gonna be a good moment to at least take some profits. I don't think at that point so early the top should be in, but a local top at that point after a big BTC run followed by meme coins and then an altcoin run, I think that's a good candidate for at least a local top, wherever that may be. And maybe it doesn't even go like this, maybe Bitcoin dominance just stays here and we bleed down nonetheless, and alts just don't get their little alt season. Right now, like there's plenty of alts doing well, but it's very concentrated to certain sectors, which is kind of a thing we've been seeing for a while. And I think it's different than like 2017 and 2021. 2021 was already different than 2017 because there's just so many altcoins. Like back in 2017 even, there weren't that many coins. So if altcoins were doing well, it was basically all of them doing well. But right now, there's like probably 100 times as many as back then. So there's just not enough money to pump everything in every sector. So that's why we see meme coins, we see GameFi, we see DeFi. It's usually like one or two of those, or AI, of course. And then all the focus is on there until the new narrative pops up, and then all those coins keep going. Um, so I do think that makes for like stronger runs within these sectors as long as they're in the spotlight, but the others might just stay in the shadows for a long time if there's no reason for the thing to hype them up. So in this case, the meme coins are running because people are watching retail come back. The Coinbase app is going up in the rankings on the iTunes App Store, and people are just closely watching that. Like the higher it goes, the more bullish they are on meme coins because usually when retail comes in, they tend to buy altcoins and usually meme coins as well. That happened every time so far. And something else to note here is that people are actually also watching this the Coinbase ranking to be like a top indicator or at least a local top indicator. So I think last few times, or at least the last two cycles, if I'm not mistaken, whenever Coinbase topped the iTunes or the App Store charts, like being the number one most downloaded app, I think within weeks the market topped out, and that was it. So it makes some sense. At this point, I feel like too many people caught on, but yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what it's actually based on. I think it's based on recent downloads. So there's also something to say like, okay, maybe, I mean, the space will always keep growing as the valuations and all that stuff grows. Um, but there's something to say like maybe a lot of people have already downloaded it by now and have it still on their phone. So right now they just have to log in and don't have to download it anymore. So that might not even make it go to the number one spot this time. But I don't know. It's an interesting metric to look at. Moving on. ETH. I mean, this was basically the main level I was looking for. We're kind of against it still. So that's nice. I do think if BTC breaks all-time highs, then of course ETH is likely breaking this 3600 level. In that case, I think 4K would be the most logical next target. And I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. I really can't make predictions in the short term at this point, as everything is going basically parabolic. Um, sure, you can call tops, you can call higher targets, but eventually you just have to wait and see. And I don't think this is a perfect environment to trade. I mean, I think it's good if you play long only and you bid like the every 5 to 10% dip. You might get like a quick wick down and then back up. I mean, even this thing overnight on BTC. Obviously, I was sleeping at this time, but these kind of things in these kind of runs, if you're here and you see it and you see this wick and you see it going back up, usually if you're just trading it as a quick scalp, these can work out pretty well. Usually this is the best you're gonna get in these parabolic runs. So um, I mean, if you're there and you're active and you want to babysit your position, of course, also set your stop straight away. Don't get wrecked in case it just rolls over completely. But these kind of things are like the best you gotta hope for in that case. And I would prefer doing that still over trying to short any of this. I mean, to be honest, this could have been a decent one because we swept it, we fell back below. Could have taken a quick short there, but you'd have to close really quickly in this case and also be happy with a few percent and not hope for like the next 20% move to come in next. All right. I keep getting distracted. ETH. Well, basically we just said it. Same thing. BTC. We just have to wait and see. I mean, stocks all-time highs. Nothing new there. These things. I mean, stocks in general. It's just always this up only, and we've really been accelerating similar to like the 2020, 2021 kind of behavior. It's kind of crazy how these things move. Um, Moving on. Dollar, not too much going on here. Gold, actually, something uh, to note. It has broken out of this 3+ year range finally. Uh, I mean, if you count it from here, we've basically been trading in this thing for 1400 days, so that's well over 3 years. It has broken out and closed above it. I mean, we kind of did it back here. So let's see if it can actually continue up. And I think this could help BTC, although at this moment I don't think it really matters what gold does. But sometimes they tend to move together a bit. Um, in this case, I would look for, I think, some move to like the 2.2Ks and higher. So that was one I wanted to note, and silver's kind of lagging behind still. Um, then onto this one might be good to watch real quick. The liquidity chart and should be here. So what's interesting here, and I overlay Bitcoin, is usually this thing moves together as BTC moves mostly with USD liquidity. But you can see more recently this thing has just been taking off relatively to the USD liquidity. Just trying to kind of match them up nicely. Um, so you can see this is, in my opinion, all due to the ETF. So yes, BTC usually moves together with USD liquidity. So if more money is circulating in the in the markets and in just in the system, BTC tends to do well. And when we see quantitative tightening and just the reduction of the balance sheets by central banks and all that kind of stuff, then usually we see the BTC price decline. So you can see here that happened after the 2021 top with the rate cuts, all those kind of things. Not like rate cuts influence the money supply, but you get the point. So people were saying here, okay, BTC clearly doesn't do well during an inflationary environment, which it should do well against. But that was not really the case because at this point, all these the money supply and all these things were shrinking. So usually BTC follows suit, and that's what happened. But now you can see, I mean, it has only been going up a bit. It's not even close to its 2021 autumn highs here, but BTC is, and I think that's all due to the ETF. So it's more like not like the macro environment that's influencing it, but in this case, just a lot of adoption and also, of course, a legitimacy which the ETF gave it, and just how much money is now able to invest. So that's why it's kind of deviating from that point at this from here, and it tends to do that during its runs. It tends to outperform as well, but good to watch regardless. Um, well, the DeFi coins, obviously, we had a huge run after the Uniswap fee proposal thing. Since then, I mean, they're kind of grinding up, but not too much going on here. So nothing too crazy in that regard. I have to open the door real quick. Yeah, okay. Just a package. Um, yeah, so nothing really going on here anymore. I don't think this is the most interesting sector. I will say, of course, my long-term hold GMX, it hasn't been doing great throughout. Like, well, in the end, like it was doing great in the bear market, but since the bull, it has kind of been underperforming a bit. Um, Still holding this since like $15 from the summer in 2021. And I've been staking it all this time, so obviously that contributed to quite a bit of yield during that time. But for now, I think it has to really break the $60 level, and then we can look for basically all-time highs again, because within this area there's not too much in terms of resistance. So yeah, I mean, just waiting patiently here. I do feel like it wants to go at this point, and the volumes have been going up. The open interest on there, so people can open more positions, has been going up. So looking pretty well. Um, and then some other coins, of course. Link. Not sure what this was from a long time ago. I mean, this is still just a really pretty looking chart to me, and I'm probably gonna hold on to this for the, well, at least some of it for like the good part of the cycle, which was the plan all along. I mean, we bought this back in the group here after this range retake, which was super clean, and it's still impressive to me how most people were watching this for this deviation. So right there, I was saying, okay, deviate below, take it back, and I'm gonna buy in. And I mean, they did that. We came down to test it once more, but we really didn't lose the range again. So since then, it's just been going up and up, and that's nice. Like I always say with these kind of things, it's not gonna outperform. I mean, it might outperform things like ETH and BTC in the long run, if it does at all. But it's like more of a safer bet. Like I'm pretty sure this is just gonna go pretty well with the market. It might just start outperforming at some point, but it's just a more safer hold, and it's fine to have some of those as well. Like if you're just going for the full-on risk and maximum returns, then you should probably go all in into all or into meme coins, and then hopefully you catch the right one. Uh, that's how people make fortunes with very little money. It's possible, but it's kind of depending on your risk appetite. Speaking about memes, Dogecoin, um, it has basically been doing what I wanted to see it do at some point. It didn't even need a catalyst. Well, in this at this time, it's just the catalyst is that meme coins are running, so Dogecoin runs. I mean, it's doubled in a few days or like in a few week or so. So that's impressive seeing how big this is. I mean, we were kind of expecting such a move at some point. Obviously, when it happens, it's really quick. Our position, which we bought down here, I mean, we held it at break even for like 2, 3 weeks, I think. Um, in hindsight, my targets were a, a bit too low, I guess. We took like we took profit here at like 40 something percent in gains in a few days, which was nice, of course. I mean, it's a long on top of the spot hold I already have or is in the long term portfolio. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's always the case with these things in these kind of markets. You're gonna sell too quickly. And speaking about that, the Pepe bag, which I've been holding, I know I accumulated it somewhere in this price region. I think I bought some down here, maybe down here, and some here as well. I think somewhere around this, let's say on the right side, the 1000 something level on average. So then when we were trading here last week, I was like, okay, this was I think the point 618-ish, yeah. So we were trading here, and I was like, okay, I'm happy with this. We 3x'd in like a week or something. So I'm just gonna take profit here on the entirety of the bag. In hindsight, I'm not too sad about taking profit at 3x after a week. In hindsight, I should have left some open because I know these things can do this, and they always do when they go. So I should have left some behind, and then I could have taken some profit here and maybe now at this point. But it is what it is. Can't be too sad about the 3x in 1 week. But it just shows you how you uh, are very easy to underestimate these kind of things in such an environment. Um, and I mean, in the end, it's risky. Yes, you can stay, and even now, maybe your target is up here, and you're gonna wait for another 7x or so. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you're too late with selling, once these things start correcting, even though it might not be the like the ultimate top, if these things correct, I mean, you can easily look for um, at least a move in this case to like this area, I think. Oh, it might not sound too much, but if your back just went like 7x and it then loses 40% of that, depending on how much you had in it, of course, that's still a very big hit. So that's why with these kind of things, I would not focus on like one specific target, but I just scale out slowly. So also don't do what I did, just selling everything in one go. E- uh, of course, do it if you're like happy with the profit or you hit your target, and then it's fine. But I mean, in the back of my head, I was looking for higher on this in the long run, but the fact that it went there so quick made me sell out of it earlier. Like if it was a slow grind up there, I would not even consider selling if it was there in like a few months' time. But just because we did it in a few days, I got a bit scared for the big correction. Um, so the best thing usually you can do is mark some targets, mark some important horizontals, if in price discovery, then use like FIB extensions or like the FIB retracement tool, and then uh, draw it from top to bottom and watch. In my opinion, the best levels to look for is like 1,618 and then 2,618, which kind of corresponds with the point or the 0.618, which we tend to look for a lot during corrections. Uh, but I will say in price discovery, levels don't really get respected too well as there's really not any levels at all. That's why price moves so quick. But yeah, just set some targets along the way, then scale some out at those levels, leave some on the table in case it does run higher, and just go like that. And you can never really go wrong, and you're always happy as you have taken some profit along the way. What else? I just have the coins here that are usually interesting to me or are new or moving a lot. On our sorry, Kotti still I mentioned this in the liquidity educational thread, which is getting uploaded in a bit. But this just shows you how these longer term or these higher time frame coins, which have been consolidating for years, then at some point they're gonna break into these higher or these lower highs, which are these white dotted lines in this case, and you can just see how it's just squeezes. So there's like these stops above here, above here, above here, and then it breaks into one. It kind of squeezes higher and higher and just keeps breaking off them and fuels it for the move all the way up there, which basically took it back like 2 years of downside, which is not uncommon for these kind of coins. Although it's still something I'm pretty bullish on and I'm an investor in, so that's something I'm happy about. As obviously I was in this early, so that's nice. Just nice uptrend in general. They just announced something really sick, which is their Ondo global marketplace. If I got it correctly, I'm not sure how they actually mentioned it. I will link it in the chat for anyone that's interested. But it's really cool. It's has to do with RWAs, and I'm just looking up how they called it. Oh well, doesn't really matter. Um, So what's really cool here is that they're basically gonna build some it's on the global markets, but they're gonna build some kind of on-chain securities exchange. So you can due to their service or their protocol, you can put in like stable coins, for example, and indirect or directly you can kind of invest into securities, like let's say Tesla, for example, Tesla stock, and you can do it through your stable coins. I think they hold it somewhere and then the transfer happens. I'm not sure about the technical specifics, but it's pretty damn cool and really a next step forward. Also for providing liquidity for these kind of things. Um, what else? I think Stacks is gonna get interesting. I do think this is gonna break its all-time high because I mean we've been consolidating against this for a while, and this is still one of my bigger spot backs. We've been holding this since what, like 50 cents or something. So this has been a nice run. Um, and yeah, I do think this is gonna head higher. It's basically with all this BTC Fi and ordinals and things. This is not directly related to the ordinals, but it's Bitcoin layer 2. It was the first of its kind. It's the largest. Um, this is also something like, yes, it's not gonna outperform some of these new launches and things, but I think it's just gonna be steady. It's way ahead of the rest of the things in terms of also legitimacy and how big it is and the team working on it. Uh, they got like a 2 year head start, I think. So I do think this is gonna head higher during this cycle. And an additional bonus is that this thing shares its same halving date together with Bitcoin. So in somewhere mid-April, the Bitcoin inflation is gonna halve, and so will the stacks inflation. So that's a nice added benefit for this, which is nice. If there's any coins, by the way, or any questions in general you want me to ask, let me know, and I'll keep scrolling through anything that might be interesting to name for now. But I think we've kind of gone through the most of it. I mean, Bonk obviously also running. All these things are going absolutely crazy. Even Ship is going. Um, 3x as well. Not too bad. And here, something to note. Also, you can see like the bigger and mostly the older the coins are, the worse they do, which makes sense in a way. But you can see Doge did like a 2x. Then we have Ship, which did like a 3x. And then we could go to like Pepe, and it did 5x something. And then we go to Whiff, which did a, I don't even know during this time, 6x or so. So yeah, I mean the you can see the difference there. Like the newer, the more hype the coin, the better it does. And of course, they're way smaller than, for example, Doge, so it's easier to move. But this is usually the case, and also with like the bigger coins, but the newer ones. So that's why you will see. Let's see if we get a good example. Maybe in here. Let's see. Let's see. Like let's just say, obviously not recently, but more like more throughout the past year. Injective has been doing super well. It has, I mean, it kind of launched at the top in 2021, so it didn't really experience a cycle except downside. So in that case, usually the coins that do best are launched somewhere in the bear market and then they go from there. But in this case, it also didn't really have a cycle, which really helps because if you get like a full on cycle with a blow off top, and during that time a lot of back holders are created and they're just in there during the entirety of the bear market. And at that point, every little resistance you meet, and I mean there's one coin that's an expert at this. Um, okay, I need a longer term chart here. The coin that does this best or like worst in that case must be XRP. And just give me a long-term chart. Finance then, sure. this thing has so many backholders and so many people that are in from much higher. And this doesn't even account for the 2017 cycle, which topped somewhere at like 350 or so up here. But this thing has so much that it experienced. And yes, I do think it's gonna eventually make this move again. Not sure if it's gonna make new all-time highs, but yeah, I mean, there's so much price history here, and there's so many people waiting to finally sell out of this, and they're saying like, okay, if it reaches, let's say, $1, I'm just gonna finally get rid of it. If it reaches $2, I'm gonna get rid of it. At each level, there's so many people that act like this. While if there's something new and it's in price discovery and people still have hope, then they're just gonna be way more excited and not so orientated on like a specific price level to sell out of, and they're just gonna go with the flow and let it happen, which is why new coins always outperform uh, altcoins in general as like a group, and that's also why this is something I last cycle I did a bit better. My first cycle. Um, like my first cycle was obviously new. I held things like IOTA or so. Took me a while to get rid of it in like 2019, 2020, understanding that it's never gonna make a big run again, which didn't happen as of to date. And then now this cycle, I'm mostly positioned in still the newer things. So things like Blur, for example, which launched somewhere during the bear, basically, or a bit earlier, almost near the top, I think, similar to Injective. And then we have, of course, things like Arbitrum, Optimism, which are these layer twos. Still not been doing too great, but also pretty safe bets, I think, in general. And these things still have to experience like a proper bull market as of today. So that's why I think these are interesting. And of course, if you really want to, well, won't say gamble, but you have things like Celestia, which has done incredibly well, launched basically during the, I won't call it bear in this case, is also a bit of a short-term chart. But I mean, this thing launched somewhere last year. It has basically done incredibly well since, and there's plenty of others like this. And yeah, it's something to think about. Like if you got these really old coins, and of course, Chainlink is an example, which is an altcoin, which I still believe in, but it's just because they really do have a lot of adoption. And also added benefit is that, of course, the chart looks great, which is usually the main thing I go by. Like you can have such a great product and so much adoption, but if the chart just doesn't go for whatever reason that may be, maybe there are a lot of unlocks happening. Um, that's also good to keep in mind. But yeah, I mean the chart will usually show the way, and it's still the main thing I go by, especially on these higher time frames. All right, I don't think there's any questions, so I'm just gonna round it up here. Um, Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all have a good week ahead. And yeah, I mean, let's see where we are at next week, if we can make it to autumn highs or not. Would really have surpassed my expectations of when this would have happened. I was saying like Q3 or Q4. I've always said it, just going by like the 4-year cycle. Um, yeah, I will end on that. Like, I do feel like due to the ETFs, we are in some kind of accelerated cycle. Um, like if this breaks all-time highs now and it's just gonna keep going and going and going, usually going by the previous 4-year cycles, we would have ended up with a top at like the end of 2025. So that's like almost 2 years from now. Let's say 1.5. But I do think if we do really see some kind of accelerated run due to the ETFs, let's say somewhere like Q1, Q2 2025 for a top would kind of make sense in a way. It's also post elections, which are in a way also going to play into it. I think it usually has some impact on the stock market as well. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And for now, we'll just keep watching. Um, we keep riding the wave. I mean, we've only yet to break all-time highs. Usually, we do extend quite a bit higher than that when we do. Bitcoin also never retests these all-time highs. You can go back and look at it. But usually when you get all-time high break, you go a bit higher. Well, probably not that high. And people are always waiting for the retest, which usually never comes. But you tend to get something like this. And then here, people start shorting or they start selling, and you get the next leg up. And then you never really revisit this all-time high again until maybe in the bear market, which happened for the first time this time around. All right, that's really it. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a good day and take care. Bye bye.